The Galactic Innovation Archive contains more human patents than all species combined. Part 1. Ambassador Wei walked through the massive corridors of 7 Station, her footsteps echoing against walls that had stood for thousands of years. The Galactic Patent Office occupied the entire central ring of the station, a testament to how seriously the galaxy took intellectual property. Today she was here for something routine, or so she thought. Earth had developed a new improvement to fusion drive efficiency, and it needed to be registered in the archive. The waiting area was nearly empty. A trio sat in perfect stillness, their crystalline exoskeletons refracting the soft blue light. In the corner, a gaseous zephyr floated inside its containment suit, occasionally shifting colors. Took a seat and pulled out her data pad, reviewing the technical specifications one more time. The improvement was modest but real. It would increase fuel efficiency by 3% across all existing drive models. Ambassador Wei, please proceed to Window 7, a melodic voice announced. Approached the designated window where a Vex clerk waited. The Vex were crystalline beings, their bodies composed of living geometric shapes that shifted and reconfigured constantly. This one's identification badge read Shatter of Dawn. Good cycle, Ambassador, Shatter of Dawn said, their voice chiming like wind through glass. I have your filing here. The fusion drive modification correct. That's right, said, sliding her credential chip across the counter. Should be straightforward. We've included all the technical documentation and prior art citations. Shatter of Dawn's facets dimmed slightly as they processed the information. Seconds passed, then minutes. The Vex's internal lights flickered in patterns had learned to recognize as deep concentration or concern. Is something wrong? Asked. No, nothing wrong exactly, Shatter of Dawn said slowly. It is just that this filing will be historically significant. Once I process this, humanity's total patent count will reach 847,293. Blinked, that seems like a lot for 80 years of membership. Ambassador, it is more than a lot. Shatter of Dawn's crystalline form rotated slightly, a gesture of emphasis. As of this filing, humanity will officially hold more patents in the Galactic Archive than any other single species in the 40,000-year history of recorded innovation. The words hung in the air between them, felt her stomach tighten. That can't be right. What about the elders? They've been spacefaring for over 30,000 years. Or they invented half the technology we use on Earth. Shatter of Dawn pulled up a holographic display. Numbers and graphs materialized in the air, showing patent counts by species over time. The elder line was long and low, accumulating slowly over. The line showed a sharp spike around 15,000 years ago, then leveled off almost completely. Other species showed similar patterns, initial bursts of innovation, then long plateaus. Then there was humanity's line. It started just 80 years ago and shot upward like a rocket, climbing at a rate that made all other species' contributions look almost flat by comparison. Most species file heavily in their first few centuries of galactic membership, Shatter of Dawn explained. They register their existing technologies, perhaps develop a few new innovations, and then their filing rate drops dramatically. The elders, for example, have filed only 7 new patents in the last 1,000 years. The file perhaps 2 or 3 per decade. And humans? Asked, though she could see the answer in the graph. Humans file an average of 29 new patents per day, every day, without pause. Your species filed 12 patents yesterday, 34 the day before, and 26 the day before that. Stared at the numbers. She'd known Earth was innovative, that human engineers and scientists were always tinkering and improving things, but she'd never seen it like this. Is that why you're hesitating to process my filing? Shatter of Dawn's lights pulsed in what had learned was the Vex equivalent of discomfort. There is to be a closed session of the Council of Innovation next cycle. The topic is listed only as the human patent anomaly. Several elder species have been reviewing the archive statistics. They are concerned. Concerned about what? We're following all the rules, aren't we? You are, Shadow of Dawn assured her. Every human filing has been legitimate, but Ambassador, no species in galactic history has ever behaved like this. The Council wishes to understand why. Some are worried that such rapid innovation represents instability. Others fear that humans are somehow gaming the system, filing trivial variations to inflate your numbers. Felt a flash of anger but pushed it down. She'd been a diplomat long enough to know that alien perspectives often seemed hostile when they were merely confused. Can I access the archive database? I'd like to see exactly what we've been patenting. Shadow of Dawn hesitated, then nodded. You have the right as a registered ambassador. I will grant you full access to the human patent records. The Vex processed her filing, officially making humanity the most prolific innovators in recorded galactic history, then provided with an access crystal. Spent the next 3 station cycles in a private research booth, sleeping only when exhaustion forced her to. What she discovered was both fascinating and troubling. Humans didn't just patent new inventions. They patented improvements to existing technology, often technology that other species had considered perfected centuries ago. They had invented the molecular sieve 8,000 years ago, a device for separating particles at the atomic level. They had filed 1 patent for it. Humans had filed 1,847 patents for different sieve designs, variations, improvements, and alternative applications in just the last 10 years. The pattern repeated across every field. The Zephyr had developed atmospheric processors for terraforming. One design, used unchanged for 4,000 years. Humans had filed 312 patents for atmospheric processor modifications in the last 15 years. The Elders had created the gravity lens, a fundamental tool for space navigation. Humans had filed 89 patents for different lens configurations and uses. But it wasn't just modifications. Humans patented solutions to problems other species hadn't realized existed, found patents for devices that made other devices easier to repair, patents for tools that help teach people how to use other tools, patents for safety improvements to technology that other species considered safe enough, patents for making existing processes faster, cheaper, more efficient, more durable, more accessible. One patent made laugh out loud despite her growing anxiety. A human engineer had taken a food preparation device and modified it to also clean itself automatically after use. The original design required manual disassembly and cleaning every time. They had used it that way for 6,000 years without apparently ever thinking to change it. A human used it once and immediately wondered how to make it more convenient. There were thousands of examples like this, tens of thousands. Humans took everything they encountered and asked, how can this be better? How can this do more? How can we make a version that works in this slightly different situation? The galaxy saw finished products. Humans saw rough drafts. Found another pattern that troubled her more. Many human patents were filed and then immediately released under free use licenses. Humans would invent something, register it officially, and then let anyone use it without payment. This was nearly unheard of among other species, who treated patents as valuable property to be licensed carefully. She pulled up communications logs and found heated debates in human engineering forums about this practice. Some humans wanted to keep patents restricted to benefit Earth economically, but they were always outvoted by those who argued that advancing galactic technology helped everyone, humans included. The phrase, "rising tide lifts all boats," appeared over and over. By the 3rd cycle, understood what the Council of Innovation was really worried about. It wasn't that humans were breaking rules. It was that humans were revealing something uncomfortable about how the rest of the galaxy approached innovation. Most species invented until they reached solutions that worked, then stopped. They treated technology as a series of problems to be solved, and once solved, maintained. Humans didn't work that way. Humans treated every solution as temporary, every design as incomplete, every invention as a stepping stone to the next iteration. Not because human technology was inferior, but because humans seemed psychologically incapable of leaving anything alone. If it worked, humans wanted to know if it could work better. If it was good, humans wondered if it could be great. If it solved one problem, humans immediately looked for other problems it might solve. Leaned back in her chair and rubbed her tired eyes. The council meeting was in a few hours. She needed to figure out how to explain humanity to beings who had spent thousands of years perfecting the art of being satisfied with good enough. She pulled up one final patent that had been filed just yesterday. A human botanist on Mars had developed a new strain of wheat that grew 20% faster in low gravity. The patent application included detailed genetic information, growth protocols, and soil requirements. At the bottom was a note, released under open galactic license. Please adapt as needed for your world. Let us know if you develop any improvements. Smiled despite her exhaustion. That was so perfectly human. Invent something useful, give it away, and immediately ask others to make it better. She gathered her notes and headed toward the council chambers. She had no idea if she could make them understand, but she had to try. Humanity's place in the galactic community might depend on it. Part 2. The Council of Innovation met in a chamber that predated human civilization by 12 pedestals arranged in a circle, each one crafted from materials native to the founding species. Stood in the center, feeling very small and very young compared to the beings assembled around her. Clockwork Mind spoke first. The representative's crystalline body clicked and whirred with mechanical precision as they processed their thoughts. Ambassador Wei, this council has reviewed the human patent statistics with growing concern. In 80 years, your species has filed more patents than the filed in our first 8,000 years of innovation. We must ask, are these filings legitimate, or is humanity engaged in what we term patent pollution? Had prepared for this. Every human patent filing has met all galactic standards. The archive's own verification systems have approved each one. Meeting technical standards is not our concern, Clockwork Mind said. The concern is excessive variation. When the perfected design, we see no need to file dozens of variations. You have filed 1,847 patents related to molecular sieves alone. The optimal molecular sieve design was established 8,000 years ago. Why would anyone need 1,846 more versions? Because different situations require different solutions, replied. Those 1,847 designs include sieves optimized for different temperatures, different pressure ranges, different molecular sizes, different operational speeds, different power consumption rates, and different maintenance requirements. One design can't be optimal for every application. But they are all fundamentally molecular sieves, they insisted. You are cluttering the archive with trivial variations. When a researcher searches for sieve technology, they must now wade through nearly 2,000 human filings to find relevant information. This is pollution of the information commons. Before could respond, another voice joined the discussion. Witness to Epics was an elder, a being of pure thought that existed as a visible distortion in space. When they spoke, their words appeared directly in the minds of everyone present. The raise concerns about excessive filing, but I perceive a deeper question. Most species reach what we call technological plateaus. They develop solutions to their needs, refine those solutions to near optimality, and then maintain those designs for extended periods. This is the pattern across all known spacefaring civilizations except one. Why do humans appear incapable of reaching such plateaus? The question carried no hostility, only genuine curiosity, but felt the weight of it. This wasn't about patent rules. This was about whether humans were somehow defective in their approach to innovation. We're not incapable of reaching plateaus, said carefully. We choose not to. When we see something that works, our first instinct is to ask if it can work better. That's not a flaw in human psychology. It's a feature. But where does it end? Witness to Epics asked. When is a design good enough? When do you stop iterating and simply maintain? Realized she was standing at a crossroads. She could give a diplomatic answer that wouldn't offend anyone, or she could tell the truth and risk everything. She chose truth. It doesn't end. It never ends. Humans will never stop iterating because we don't believe anything is ever truly finished. Every solution we develop we see as temporary. Every design we create we see as incomplete. Every invention we make we see as a stepping stone to something better. That's not going to change. The chamber fell silent, could feel the shock rippling through the council members. She just admitted that humanity would never conform to the galactic norm of reaching stability. A third voice entered the discussion. This one belonged to Drift Through Clouds, a zephyr whose gaseous form shimmered with agitation. This is madness. How can a civilization function in a constant state of upheaval? How do you maintain anything if you are always changing it? We maintain things by improving them, said. Look at the results, not just the numbers. When the Zephyr agricultural worlds faced the Crimson Blight 3 years ago, how many species responded? Drift Through Clouds' colors shifted to a subdued green, the Zephyr equivalent of reluctant acknowledgement. Your species responded. We didn't just respond. Within a week of learning about the Blight, human botanists and chemists had filed 47 different patents for treatment methods. 47 different approaches to a problem we'd never seen before, developed in 7 days. 6 of those methods worked. Your agricultural worlds were saved because humans looked at an alien plant disease and immediately started iterating solutions. Pulled up a holographic display showing the Blight incident. This station, 7, experienced life support fluctuations 2 months ago. The problem was traced to an aging atmospheric recycler. The elders designed that recycler, and it had worked perfectly for 8,000 years. But it was starting to fail. A human engineer named was on station for unrelated business. He fixed the problem using existing parts, then filed a patent for a stabilization system that would prevent such failures in other old recyclers. He released the patent under a free-use license. 17 stations have already installed the modification. She looked at each council member in turn. You see our patent numbers as excessive. I see them as evidence that humans never stop trying to help. We iterate because we care. We file patents not to hoard technology but to document our improvements so others can build on them. We release our innovations freely because we believe that advancing galactic technology helps everyone, including us. Clockwork Mind's lights pulsed in a pattern couldn't read. You still have not addressed the core issue. The archive is becoming difficult to navigate because of human filing volume. This affects all species. Had been waiting for this argument. Actually, I have data on archive utilization that might interest the council. She pulled up another display. The archive tracks citations. When someone files a new patent, they must cite prior art that influenced their work. This helps establish the genealogy of innovation. The display showed citation networks, colored lines connecting patents across time and species. Human patents glowed bright blue, and they were everywhere. Lines connected them to patents from dozens of other species. In the past decade, human patents have been cited as prior art or inspiration in 34% of all new non-human filings. 1/3 of all new innovation in the galaxy is building on human work. Yes, we file a lot of patents, but other species are using those patents as foundations for their own innovations. Highlighted specific examples. The filed a patent last year for a new construction material. It cited 7 human patents in its prior art. The Zephyr developed an improved medical scanner. It cited 12 human patents. Even the elders filed a patent 6 months ago, their first in 400 years. It cited 3 human patents and specifically noted that exposure to human innovation philosophy had inspired them to reconsider an old problem. The chamber was quiet again, but this time the silence felt different. Less shocked, more thoughtful. Ambassador, Witness to Epic said slowly, are you suggesting that human innovation is beneficial specifically because of its excessive nature? I'm saying that humans approach innovation differently, and that difference has value. You see patents as endpoints, final products. We see them as conversations. Every patent we file is us saying, here's an idea, here's how we solve this problem. Maybe you can use it, or maybe you can improve it, or maybe it will inspire you to think of something we never considered. We patent prolifically because we iterate constantly, but we also share readily. The two go together. A new voice joined the discussion. Was surprised to see that it came from one of the younger species representatives, a serpentine coil named Spiral of Silver, who normally remained silent during council sessions. Ambassador, my species has been studying human patents in secret. We were afraid to present our findings because we thought the council would disapprove. But you have filed patents for concepts that the coil never considered. We have used your ideas to develop 17 new innovations that combine human creativity with coil engineering precision. Clockwork Mind's lights flashed sharply. You have been studying human patents. Why was the council not informed? Because I feared exactly this reaction, Spiral of Silver said, their scales rippling with what might have been courage or fear. They teach that optimal solutions should be found and maintained. The elders teach that innovation should be contemplative and rare, but humans teach something different. They teach that innovation is not a destination but a journey. I find their approach energizing, not chaotic. Other voices began to join in. Not all of them supportive, but not all hostile either. The council chamber filled with debate, species arguing with each other about the value of stability versus iteration, perfection versus constant improvement, maintaining the old ways versus embracing new approaches. Stood in the center of it all and realized something important. Humanity hadn't just filed a lot of patents. They challenged the galaxy's fundamental assumptions about what innovation meant. For 40,000 years, galactic civilization had operated on the principle that technology was a series of problems to be solved. Humans had arrived and revealed an alternative. Technology was an ongoing conversation that never truly ended. The debate raged for hours, answered questions, provided examples, and defended humanity's approach. But she also listened. She learned that the valued precision and permanence because their bodies were crystalline. They literally embodied the concept of perfect geometric forms. She learned that the elders moved slowly because they experienced time differently, making patience feel natural to them. She learned that every species' approach to innovation was shaped by their biology and culture. Humans were restless because humans were short. They iterated constantly because they didn't have thousands of years to contemplate perfect solutions. They shared freely because human history was full of innovations lost when individuals died without passing on knowledge. The human approach to innovation wasn't better or worse than other species. It was just different, shaped by different circumstances and needs. Finally, Witness to Epics called for silence. This council has much to consider. Ambassador Wei, you have given us new perspectives to contemplate. We will adjourn and reconvene in 3 cycles with a decision. As the council members departed, Spiral of Silver approached. Thank you for defending human innovation. Your patents have changed how my species thinks about engineering. We were afraid to admit it, but your words today have given us courage. Smiled tiredly. How many of your 17 innovations have you filed patents for? None yet. We were afraid of criticism. File them, said firmly. Share your ideas. Let others build on your work. That's what innovation is supposed to be about. As left the council chamber, she wondered what decision they would reach. Would they accept humanity's approach, or would they try to restrict it? Either way, she knew one thing for certain. The galaxy would never look at innovation the same way again. Part 3. Spent the next 3 cycles preparing for the worst. She drafted contingency plans, consulted with Earth's legal experts, and coordinated with other human ambassadors across the galaxy. If the Council decided to restrict human patent filings, they needed to be ready to respond. But she also did something else. She organized an open forum at the archive, using an old galactic protocol that allowed any species to request a public educational session. The topic was listed simply as Human Innovation Philosophy. She expected maybe a few dozen curious individuals to attend. Thousands came in person. Millions more watched via across the galaxy. The forum was held in one of the archive's largest public spaces. A massive amphitheater carved from a single piece of crystal stood at the center, feeling the weight of countless eyes upon her. Some beings present were hostile, viewing humans as disruptive upstarts. Others were curious. Still others were hopeful, seeing in humanity a challenge to old ways they'd never quite agreed with. Began without preamble. She held up a simple wooden block, a toy from Earth that she'd brought specifically for this demonstration. "This is a children's toy from Earth," she said. "It's a block of wood, roughly cube-shaped, hand-sized. Simple, right? Now I want to explain how different species might approach this object." She activated a holographic display showing an engineer examining the block. An engineer would analyze this carefully. They would measure its dimensions, test the wood density, calculate the optimal size for a child's hand, and determine the best type of wood for durability and safety. Then they would declare this the optimal block design. Maybe they would file one patent. Then they would be done. The problem is solved. The display shifted to show an elder contemplating the block. An elder would approach this differently. They would consider the philosophical implications. A block teaches children about shapes, about physical properties, about the nature of solid matter. The elder would meditate on its simplicity, perhaps write treatises about what it means. They might preserve the design as a meditation on the perfection of basic forms. The block would become a cultural artifact, unchanged. Paused, then smiled. "Now let me tell you what a human does when they see this block." The display exploded with images. Hundreds of variations appeared, spinning and multiplying. A human looks at this block and asks, what if it were round instead? What if it connected to other blocks? What if it made sounds when you shook it? What if it had letters on it to teach the alphabet? What if it was made from biodegradable material? What if it glowed in the dark? What if it was magnetic? What if it was soft so bobbies could teeth on it? What if it was waterproof for bath time? What if it was transparent so you could see inside? What if it changed colors with temperature? What if? The amphitheater was completely silent. Every being present stared at the cascade of variations. "Humans don't see this block as a problem to be solved," continued. "We see it as a starting point. Every solution we create immediately suggests 10 new questions. Every design we perfect immediately makes us wonder about variations. We're not doing this because we're unstable or because we can't recognize when something is good enough. We're doing this because we fundamentally believe that nothing is ever truly finished." She picked up the wooden block again, turning it in her hands. "I know this makes some of you uncomfortable. I know the value finding optimal solutions and maintaining them. I know the elders value contemplative perfection. I know that many species see our constant iteration as chaos, but I want to share something with you about human philosophy of innovation." Pulled up a new display showing Earth's patent database and its underlying principles. "When humans file patents, we follow a simple philosophy: document everything, share readily, iterate constantly. We don't patent to hoard. We patent to establish a record, to create stepping stones that others can build upon. Look at this statistic. The average human patent is cited in subsequent work 12 times. The average non-human patent is cited less than once. Do you know why?" She let the question hang for a moment. "It's because we design our innovations to be built upon. Every human patent includes detailed technical specifications, suggestions for variations, and often notes about limitations we discovered. We're not just saying, here's an invention. We're saying, here's what we tried, here's what worked, here's what didn't work, here's what we think you should try next. We're building foundations and inviting everyone else to build houses on them." A voice called out from the audience, recognized Clockwork Mind. "But this is inefficient. If you would simply perfect your designs before filing, there would be no need for thousands of variations." "You're right that it would reduce filing numbers," agreed. "But it would also slow everything down. Let me give you an example. 30 years ago, human engineers started working on improvements to gravity lens technology. The elders had perfected the basic gravity lens 12,000 years ago. Beautiful design, works flawlessly for its intended purpose. But humans asked, what if we need a lens that works at different scales? What if we need one that uses less power? What if we need one that can be manufactured more cheaply, so more species can access the technology?" She pulled up patent records. Humans filed 89 patents for gravity lens variations over the next 20 years. They criticized this as excessive. But look what happened. A young species called the rill, who had just achieved, couldn't afford traditional gravity lens technology. It was too expensive for their economy. But they could afford to license a human-designed low-cost variant that sacrificed some precision for massive cost reduction. That human patent gave the rill access to galactic navigation, decades earlier than they would have achieved otherwise. Scan the crowd. That's what human innovation is really about. It's not chaos. It's accessibility. It's options. It's looking at every problem from as many angles as possible because we never know which angle will help someone we haven't even met yet. Another voice from the crowd, this one from a young. "I have been studying human patents in secret. I was afraid to speak of this because it seemed to contradict principles, but I have combined human iteration methods with precision. I have developed 17 new innovations. I was afraid to present them to my people." Felt a surge of recognition. This must be one of Spiral of Silver's contacts, someone else who'd been inspired by human methods but afraid to admit it. "You shouldn't be afraid," said gently. "Innovation isn't betrayal of your culture, it's contribution to it. They gave the galaxy precision and permanence. Humans are giving it iteration and options. These things don't contradict each other. They complement each other." The young stood, which knew was culturally shocking for their species. "I wish to file my patents publicly. I wish to contribute to the archive using methods I learned from studying human innovation." A ripple of reaction spread through the amphitheater. More voices began to call out. A Zephyr scientist who'd been experimenting with rapid prototyping. An elder who'd found human iteration methods stimulating to their usually slow thought processes. Species after species, individuals who'd been secretly inspired by human methods but afraid to acknowledge it, realized what was happening. The Council of Innovation could make whatever decision they wanted, but it was already too late. Human innovation philosophy had spread, not because humans were forcing it on anyone, but because some individuals from every species found it compelling. The galaxy wasn't going to return to its old relationship with innovation because too many beings had already glimpsed an alternative. The forum continued for hours, answered questions, explained human reasoning, and listened to stories from beings across the galaxy about how human patents had inspired them. It wasn't universal. Many species representatives pushed back, defending traditional approaches, but the debate itself was the point. For 40,000 years, galactic civilization had operated with unquestioned assumptions about innovation. Humans had forced those assumptions into the light. When the forum finally ended, was exhausted but energized. She returned to her quarters and found a message waiting. The Council of Innovation had reached their decision early. They wanted to present it immediately. Walked back to the council chamber with her heart pounding. This was it. The moment that would define humanity's future in galactic civilization. All 12 council members were present. Witness Dwepix spoke for them all. "Ambassador Wei, this council has made an unprecedented decision. After reviewing the evidence you presented, consulting with archive administrators, and witnessing the forum you organized, we have concluded that humanity's approach to innovation, while unusual, is not harmful to the archive or to galactic civilization. Felt relief flood through her, but Witness to Epics wasn't finished. Furthermore, we acknowledge that humanity has revealed a limitation in how the archive itself is structured. The archive was designed for civilizations that reach technological plateaus and maintain them. It was not designed for continuous, rapid iteration. Therefore, we are creating a new classification system called iterative innovation. This will be a separate category within the archive, specifically structured to handle high-volume filing and rapid evolution of designs. Clockwork Mind continued the announcement. This new category will be optional for all species. Those who wish to continue filing in traditional ways may do so, but those who wish to adopt more iterative approaches will have systems designed to support them. We acknowledge that diversity in innovation philosophy strengthens the galaxy rather than weakening it. Couldn't quite believe what she was hearing. Not only had they accepted human methods, they'd restructured the archive to accommodate them. Additionally, Witness to Epics continued, the archive itself will be redesigned to better serve its fundamental purpose. We have realized, through exposure to human philosophy, that we had allowed the archive to become focused on preservation rather than on facilitating ongoing innovation. Humans have reminded us that the purpose of recording innovation is not to memorialize final answers, but to enable better questions. The council members each spoke briefly, some more enthusiastically than others. Not all of them were happy with the decision, but they'd reached consensus. The galaxy was going to try something it had never tried before, accommodating fundamentally different approaches to innovation within a single system. Left the council chamber in a daze. She wandered back through the archive corridors, past rows of data storage that held 40,000 years of recorded innovation. Somewhere in there were now 847,293 human patents, more than any other single species, filed in just 80 years. She stopped at a public terminal and pulled up the patent filing system. The new iterative innovation category was already active. She pulled out her data pad and looked at the notes she'd been keeping. During her time at 7, she noticed that the archive search algorithm could be improved. It was good at finding specific patents but bad at finding connections between disparate ideas. She'd sketched out a solution. Smiled and began filing a new patent, an improvement to the archive's search algorithm, designed to help beings find unexpected connections between different fields of innovation. She included detailed specifications, suggestions for variations, and notes about limitations she'd encountered in her initial design. At the bottom, she added, "Released under Open Galactic License. Please adapt and improve as needed." She filed the patent and watched it populate into the system. Number 847,294. Within a week, it had been cited in 30 new filings. Within a month, 200 filings from 40 different species had built upon it or adapted it. Filed her final report to Earth and prepared to leave 7. Her work here was done, but as she walked toward the docking bay, she passed a group of young beings from multiple species clustered around a terminal. They were studying human patents, arguing excitedly about possible improvements and variations. The human innovation wave had only just begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. As her shuttle departed 7, looked back at the massive station and smiled. Somewhere in there, beings from hundreds of species were iterating, improving, and asking what if, in ways they never had before. It turned out the most important thing humans had contributed to the galaxy wasn't any single invention. It was the question that followed every human innovation. What if we made it better? That question, suspected, would echo through the galaxy for to come.